Biological weapons can be divided into three groups.
Let's go back to July 2019. Two scientists with ties to the Chinese military were escorted out of the Winnipeg virus laboratory. This is a level 4 laboratory that Canada uses to research some of the world's most deadly pathogens and viruses. How did two scientists with these ties get approval to work at this secret facility? How did they get approval to bring students from China with even more direct contact with the Chinese military to come help them with the research?
Admiration I actually have for China.
This is a story about some of the world's most dangerous pathogens. This is a story about espionage. And this is a story about the Trudeau government being totally disconnected about the risks in the modern security environment.
Admiration I actually have for China.
Let's talk about that.
CBC News has learned that months before being escorted out of Canada's highest security microbiology lab, federal scientist Jianguo Chu sent 30 vials of 15 different strains of Ebola and Hennepin virus to Wuhan, China.
Admiration I actually have for China.
We know that in 2018 they started bringing students, interns with deep connections to the Chinese military from China to do work on this virus research. In 2019, they sent dangerous virus samples to a laboratory in China, the Wuhan virus laboratory. We know from public records, like patent documents, that the work being done by these scientists specifically was on gain of function for viruses.
Admiration I actually have for China.
That's where they're actually trying to improve the efficacy of a virus, its transmissibility, and in some cases, in bioweapons research, its deadliness. Now, who authorized transfers of dangerous, deadly viruses? Who authorized this high level of cooperation and collaboration with the Chinese military?
Admiration I actually have for China.
CSIS told Mr. Trudeau not to do it. He was advised that this type of partnership, because of the risk of bioweapons research, should not be taking place. The Trudeau government ignored those warnings.
Admiration I actually have for China.
Now we have the global inquiry onto the origins of the worst pandemic in modern history are all looking at Wuhan.
There's a chance that this was created in a lab. There's an investigation.
A chance?
Here,
There's a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan Novel Respiratory Coronavirus Lab. The disease is the same name as the lab.
Now we know the two aren't related with the viruses we sent, but we were collaborating with a laboratory that is now being looked at by the Biden administration and many of our allies.
Admiration I actually have for China.
Remember, at a time where we have the two Michaels in prison, we see a genocide being committed against the Uyghur Muslim population. We see the situation in Hong Kong. The Trudeau government partnering in virology research between our top laboratory and the laboratory in Wuhan.
Admiration I actually have for China.
Canada's already seen as a weak ally in the Five Eyes on Huawei. We're already seen as not doing our part in NATO. We're already not trusted by the Americans when it comes to trade, when it comes to technology transfer with state-owned enterprises from China.
Admiration I actually have for China.
The Trudeau government is doing anything it can to cover this up. They're in contempt of Parliament. They've thrown a leading, lifetime civil servant under the bus for the first time in a century. An order of Parliament for the first time completely disregarded by justice.
Admiration I actually have for China.
And in the process, hiding the truth from Canadians about what partnership was being done in the Winnipeg lab by scientists with deep connections to the Chinese military.